Holy hell, man. I sound really loud in my ears. Can I get a 5x5? I don't know what just happened, but boy, oh boy, I sound, before I get too rolling, can somebody tell me if I sound all right? Lynn Sanity, how are you? Good to see you. Incarnasol, what's up? Kristen Melinda, good to see you. Shane, how are you? Jason P, glad you're here. What's up, Diane? Katie Much, glad you're here. Rolling Stone, Jason P, you're a beast, man. That dude can whip a wrench like no one you've ever seen. Holly Smith, how are you? Hey, Blessed to Crochet, what's up, Mary? Dee Razzle Dazzle, good to see you. Yarn Prepper, glad you're here. Shannon Smith, what's happening? Persimmon. It looks like the Lifeboat has acquired about 500 new subscribers today. How cool is that? Huh? How cool is that? And far be it from me to take victory laps, because you know what? These kind of things don't last very long. And I've been through times where you don't grow anyway at all for 6 months. You know what I mean? And if you act like you're different during the times where you're doing well, then there's probably something wrong with you. But not trying to sound like that guy, but I think we've grown by about 700 today. I think that's where we're at right now, 7 and change. What's cerebral palsy looks like? Been watching the Boone trial? Oh, Lord, huh? Remember the video that I did on the Boone trial where I said, this might be the dumbest decision that any inmate has ever made, ever? What do you think? Right? Because I promise you, when this is all said and done, this is not. She had an opportunity to get some life left, right? To get out in time to, I don't know, I think she made a really, really bad decision. That's my personal opinion. I think she made a really bad decision. Hey, Heather, what's happening? Kiki, how are ya? Mara, good to see you. The Arabian Bard, you know something? I still am a huge fan, in spite of the fact that, as it turns out, you're the Johnny Scoville fan club. I heard that. I was lurking. Tony Suter, good to see you. Monica Larimore, how are you? Hey, Mindy Suhu. That one always gets me. Mindy Suhu. And from Massachusetts. It's so very Seuss-like. Theodore Geisel style. Gemini 65 girl, what's happening? Marina, good to see you. Martha, Feisty Irish, good to see you. Angie Barnes, sounds okay. Good. McCordy, Batters, Ruxick and Messler. My other's Keeper, good to see you. Street Yida, what's happening? Snake, good to see you. Renee B. Perry Young. Hey, Team Dissadude 222, the Triple Deuce. Katrina, what's happening? Tamber June, good to see you. Annette Baum. All right. I think that pretty much sums it up, right? So, goodness gracious. Jane Aldrich, what's happening? So, hey, Rose Toast. Darcy, good to see you. So, let me tell you a couple of things before we get rolling. Tried to do a video this morning where we were playing clips off of my phone. Has anyone ever tried to do this before? Because I thought maybe it's something with the Yeti microphone or something like this. So, if you watched the live stream that I did on the Sean Atwood program today, we didn't start right on time, right? Because he was having problems getting the clips run through the computer, and he took his phone and he was like, "Hey, I'll just do it this way." And he's holding the phone up like this, and we're basically FaceTiming because we're going to be on at the same time. And he said, "Are you hearing this?" I said, "Not a sound, nothing." And I thought you guys were all crazy. I thought you were saying that it was jumbled or whatever because it's so loud in the room you're in. But these microphones cancel out sound that they don't lock onto as me, I guess is what's happening. So it absolutely destroyed any hope of that. So my big thanks to the people over at the Sean Atwood program, Shane and Ron and everybody that took that and was able to get all of that put together so that it looked as if I knew what I was doing, right? Because I don't. I don't know what I'm doing, but Kim is Blue, good to see you. Roberta, what's happening? Hey, Anna, hope you're sleeping. Goddess Divine, what's happening? Gamer Jackie, Kestrel, there you are. There you are. Lumen, what's up? Hey, Maddie Banana, glad that you're here. Michelle, good to see you. I'm taking questions, people, and anything goes. Angie Mo, what's happening? Rhinoceros? Que pasa? You know what? I love the word rhinoceros. It's one of those words that, for whatever reason, always makes me laugh. Maybe because I had a nephew who used to say Renatner. He could not for the life of him say it. And when you know that your nephew says Renatner instead of Rhinoceros, you really try to work that into as many conversations as you can because it's just so damn funny. Steph, good to see you. 22 years sober. You know what? It's hard to read your name and not want to go, hey, it's the official participation trophy of the Lifeboat. I love it. I really do. I love watching anybody that anyone that's fighting the good fight. It's hard getting off dope. Hey, Batters, what a cool thing to say. I really appreciate you. Yeah, see, there you go. Shane's the one of those cats that'll fall on a sword to make everybody else look good. He says, I had to send all my clips to Sean via email 5 minutes before the stream started. Organized, I was not. You know, he's one of those producers, though, that if it's going to make the host look bad, he'll probably just fall on his sword. Cricket, what's happening, man? Good to see you. Kim Roy, how are you? I live for now. Good to see you. Incarnasoul, what's happening? Just Joan, Perry Young, Scapegoat. You were baking instead of watching you and Suitcase Sarah. How have I never called her Suitcase Sarah? My Lord, I feel so silly. Honestly, I feel silly. That's incredible. Gracie Madeline, that is awesome. I'm sorry, that really is. Suitcase Sarah. That was a thumbnail. Where was that when I was doing it? Question, how am I feeling? Have I been getting my rest? You know what? I got the greatest audience in the world. Honestly, what other audience would give a crap? But I really do have that audience. And if you're brand new to the Lifeboat, I suffer from some mental stuff. And if I work too long, and I am the kind of guy that'll work until I fall over sometimes. However, there are still people that I've got people in my orbit who are keeping an eye on me. I know that you're panicky because Quibs is probably not riding shotgun, but trust me, she would ride shotgun anyway. We are still in contact, people, and in fact, we might. There's a project we might work on. You just stick around. There could be something happening. I'm never not going to be friends with that girl. Just I care way too much for her. Sorry if already asked today. Is the Abercrombie situation related to Diddy? You know what? You can't. No apology for that. This is a great question, right? Because what the CEO for Abercrombie and Fitch, right? The gentleman that was running Abercrombie and Fitch, who has been accused of trafficking, right? So it does look like, right? We start seeing all of these things dropping at the same time. And I'm not trying to wear a tinfoil hat any more than anybody else, right? So what I will tell you is there were a lot of large CEOs that stepped down right around the time that Sean Combs was arrested, right? There were. Now, it was reported at a much higher number than it really is. But there were a handful of execs that stepped down. But when you start to chase these down, like, honestly, folks, I didn't go through all of them because I started to get I felt like I was wasting my time. The first two that I chased down, one person had announced 9 months earlier that they were getting ready to retire. One of the other people that were stepping down were taking a position at another company within the industry. So sometimes there's a lot of smoke, but there's not a lot of fire. What happened at Abercrombie and Fitch, the situation that's happening there is the same kind of thing, right? These are people that want an opportunity to break into something like modeling or like acting or like singing or dancing. If there is a dude standing there going, if I hire you, you're going to make a lot of money and you're going to be famous. And if I don't hire you, I can trash your career. There's always going to be the opening for the kind of crap we're seeing. And I think the chickens are coming home to roost. I think that on Club Shay Shay, we heard Cat Williams say 2024, right? This is the year that all secrets are going to be revealed, right? There's a lot of, if you look at some of the bigger names, right? Like you look at Cat, you look at the people that talk about this, there's always that, yeah, I think that kind of person's kind of crazy, or, the conspiracy theory stuff or whatever. You start looking back on things that people say and it doesn't sound quite so nuts, does it? Right? It sounds like Cat's really been pretty on this for a long time. And when you hear things about, secret societies and, rituals to get into this club and people being offered these ludicrous sums of money, sounds stupid, doesn't it? until you start reading indictments like the ones that we're reading, right? And until you start reading lawsuits like the ones we're reading, where you just go, good God, 1,000 bottles of baby oil, right? And they're not funny baby oil. A lot of memes about that, but we were one of the first channels, I think, to come out 3 weeks ago. We announced that that there was G in those bottles, and not for nothing, but I don't think I've found the channel that announced that before we did. I'm pretty proud of that. By the way, same source that got me the phone call. If the phone call's AI, I don't know that it's AI, and that's the truth. If I thought it was, I probably would bring it to you, because I've been thinking about this a lot. If I thought it was, I probably would bring it to the audience and say, my source gave this to me. I don't know that I buy it, but I'm going to let you all listen to it, because I think I don't think me sitting here and going, I am the arbiter and I'm going to bury this so that nobody can hear it because I have deemed that this is, I mean, if it sounds obvious, I probably wouldn't bring it, but I mean, I don't know. Same question as Anne from Massachusetts. Did I already answer the Anne from Massachusetts question? What are my thoughts on the existence of aliens on Earth? Well, you know what's really funny? This is going to sound awful, right? This is going to sound awful, but after I spent a lot of time in prison, and I spent a lot of time on SHU programs where you're locked down 24/7, right? Or 23-1. And we would sleep all day long, right? And then you put your headphones in at night and listen to Coast to Coast AM. Never missed it. I'm talking about for years. I didn't miss Coast to Coast AM. It's how I did my time. And George Norrie and all of the people over there, when those shows are over, the following day, all of the fellas get together and start talking about it. And the truth of the matter is, I could probably argue either side of this, right? And make a fairly convincing argument. I happen to believe that there's a lot of stuff that we've been lied to about for a really long time. And there's no chance that a weather balloon crashed in Roswell, New Mexico. There isn't, right? That's one of the most popular conspiracy theories among inmates. For whatever reason, inmates love Roswell. So not only are there usually every single book ever written in the library, right, about Roswell, because if somebody buys books, they leave them there. You're not taking them to the next yard. They won't let you ship them. So all the stuff you get sent in ends up on the book cart or in the library. And Roswell, I read an awful lot of stuff on Roswell, including some Freedom of Information stuff. And I don't buy for 1 second that was a weather balloon. I don't think we ever thought it was a weather balloon. You know, when the Navy comes out and says, hey, we captured a flying saucer, right? And then the next day goes, we were wrong. It was a balloon, right? Because damn, they're easy to confuse, right? It was their story. They were the ones that released it, all proud as hell. And then they realized that maybe that wasn't such a good idea. Crazy. There we go. Yeah, the Abercrombie thing, it's going to be scary one way or the other. You know what? The opposite of addiction is connection, and the opposite of anything going bad in your dome is connection. If you don't believe me, try it, right? Spend a little bit more time engaging with people and doing it in a positive way. Chris, good to see you. What type of questions? This is an ask anything you want. Fire it up. Harry Young says, I was watching STS when I got the notifications. We love Surviving the Survivor. Absolutely love Surviving the Survivor. It's a great channel. It really is. I love it. COE, the whole crew over there is fantastic, but Joel's one of my favorite people. We fire stuff back and forth pretty much all day. We do a lot of that. You need 25,000 by the end of the live stream. Hey, from your lips to God's ears. That sounds great. That sounds great. But yeah, if you got a question, fire it up. I don't care. In code. Diddy talks in code, just like the Adelsons talking in code. Pizza Box, Pizzagate. Yeah, you know something? Here's the deal on that. Everybody, I mean, by way of full disclosure, everybody locked up is trying to talk in code, because you know that everything that you're saying, they're listening to. If by some chance you're not doing anything wrong at all, you're probably still talking in code to some degree, right? I was married at one time to an attorney, and when I would talk to her on the phone, I just know they're listening to my calls. And sometimes like I was doing things and making moves that may not have even been illegal. But if I wanted my girl to send money to the street so that I could buy stamps, this may sound stupid, but it's currency. And guys trying to raise money will say, tell you what, I got $2,000 and I'll sell it for $800, right? This is $2,000 worth of prison money and they'll sell it for 800. So if you have the money, it's really worth it to take advantage of deals like that. But you have to talk in code to tell her to send money, because if you're sending money, the prison is going to assume 100 out of 100 times you're buying something illegal. And a lot of times that's not the case. If you want to buy a pair of shoes from somebody, if you want to buy anything and the person wants the money sent to the street, you just can't call and say, hey, I'm buying a pair of shoes, right? Can you send money to so-and-so? You're busted. You cannot arrange anything for cash to go to the street or you are written up. You'll lose your phone for first offense is, I think, 90 days. What do you do for music in prison? This is a great question. You know that? What do you do for music in prison? Are you limited to personal earphones? Are there Johnny Cash-like concerts ever? Can groups form in bands? What a great question. So, yeah, groups can form, and we'll go backwards. Groups can form bands, and they do. And then there are events a couple of times a year, depending on the yard, Labor Day, right? Maybe Memorial Day, where they will let those bands come out and set up. And for one day, it'll be one band after another. And after all the practicing and whatever, they come out and jam. And it's interesting because, you know, this is a federal institution. So you got a group of guys from down south and they're doing some country music. And we got a lot of people that came from the southern border and they're doing Tejano, and there's all kinds of rap. And by the time the day's over, you literally have hit just about every kind of music. But in the federal system, you can have an MP3 player. It's really small. And it holds 4,000 songs. You can go up to a computer and you can buy songs to download onto your MP3 player and own forever. They run about $1.15 a song. And most people have an MP3 player, you know, unless they have no support anywhere and they've never had a job in the system, you know, but that's really a big deal. It really is. During lockdowns, here's the only problem with these MP3 players are, you have to plug them in and charge them at a charging station, right? Which is in the middle of the day room. Now, the thing is coded to you. It's not worth anybody stealing because they could never charge it the next time, right? They would never be able to use it a second time because it's coded to me. And each time I plug it in, I got to do something on my computer to make it run. So during lockdowns, we got locked down for 6 months. After 24 hours or 48 hours, depending on how long your battery lasts, you're not getting any more music. You're going to have to go down and redo your MP3 player on your computer, and it's frustrating. But yeah, there's the other option is everybody has a radio, and I'm not joking. Everybody has a radio, a little like radio you wear on your hip because you can't watch TV without one, right? Because you have 6 or 7 TVs in a day room. You couldn't have the volume up on all of them. There'd be fist fights all over the place. So the first TV is on FM 88.8. The next one's on 88.9. The next one's so you have preset stations. So whatever TV you're looking at. I was never a fan, especially on this last sentence. I didn't watch any TV at all, and I wasn't a guy that could sit in the day room. I was always somebody, you know, afraid somebody was going to come up behind me and just, you know, cut my throat or do whatever. Because I've seen some really ugly things happen while people were just mindlessly staring at a television. It is all very sick and hard to comprehend. You nailed that. Jordan, thank you. Says, I really enjoyed watching you on Atwood. I felt you were very genuine and truthful. I've been incarcerated for a very short time in a county jail, and the calls sound very real to me. You know what? I feel the same way. I really do. But, you know, you got to kind of be, you kind of got to be solid and just say, hey, man, I don't know. I really don't. And, you know, someone said, isn't there a program you could run it through? Man, oh, man, do I want that program. If it's out there, I want that thing. JD from Philly has an excellent question, and I promise you that the entire world has contemplated this, right? Seriously, what is the sick fascination of wanting to be with boys or girls underage for pleasure? It makes me sick. Yeah, I think anybody whose wiring is not jacked up, it makes sick, right? But I also think, and this is just a theory, right? But a lot of these people who are successful, I think bloomed, you know, some of these people bloomed late in life. And it's like as you get older, you know, these midlife crises, I think that there's a lot of people who try to relive their youth in some really disgusting and messed up ways. And honestly, I guess that's been the only guess I could come across, truthfully. And look, I usually date women younger than me, but I don't date women 30 years younger than me. You know what I mean? Like this is pretty demented stuff. You know, it's disgusting. It really is. There's no question it's disgusting. Man, that's what I want to hear. That's what I want to hear. And of course, he's talking about Gene Deal. That's the dream interview as far as this the Diddy stuff. Yes. I'll tell you what. I was on a couple of yards with some famous people, right? One of them just got out the other day. I was on a lot of the same or at the same facilities as Big Meech. We weren't homeboys. We weren't talking, but we were in the, we went to Lewisburg in the same crew that showed up there. And then we got shipped out to Colorado for the next phase together. And then years later, I ended up on a yard with him in Oregon. So he was a big name and all of the dudes, but he had solid paperwork, right? This guy was famous, but he had good paperwork. So he could walk any yard in the BOP. And I was not on the kind of yards that a guy like Diddy would show up at. You follow me? He's being sent to a yard full of people that are like him, right? Bad people, sick people, right? The kind of people that nobody can understand unless they have bad wiring. As a woman, I don't get the baby oil. Well, here's the thing. The question becomes this. If this is your get down, hey, Chrissy from Never in Newton, if this is your get down, if this is what you're doing, if you're wanting to drug people for your pleasure, right? And you're doing DRDs, you're using these substances, people got hip. I'm not drinking anything. I'm bringing my own water. I'm not taking the cap off of it. I'm not going away from anybody, right? I'm protecting myself. But people are rubbing oil on one another. You never would think to yourself, you know, if they squirted baby oil on you, and there's people that already said they got squirted with stuff, your first thought isn't going to be, oh my God, they just put chemicals on me. Would that be your first? That would never occur to me. Never. This channel talks more about illegal substances than anything else, right? It's what we talk about probably more than anything on this channel normally when there isn't something like the Diddler or Danny Masterson going on. But with all of the talk about that stuff, and with me spending the vast majority of my life really wrapped up in that game, I didn't know. Never, like I didn't have an epiphany. Somebody reached out to me and hooked me up. This came from a source because it wouldn't have been my first thought at all. But this is a way to get at people who aren't going to let you slip something in their drink, who aren't going to eat something, who aren't going to, right? This guy wanted, allegedly, anybody that he wanted to get, he was going to get. So if he couldn't get you to drink, then he was going to squirt you. Allegedly at some of these parties, like the white parties, they would have 5 or 6 of those massage chairs set up, right? And if you went over there and you know got down in the chair and somebody put oils on their gloved hands, you wouldn't think twice. Every massage you go to in your life, they squirt oil on you, right? I think it's just another way for this absolute loser to do what he was doing. Yes, I have, Mary Huffman. Yes, I have. You're referring to the book about Manson, yeah? I think that's what you're talking about. And if so, I have read it, and it is a fascinating read. It is a fascinating read. In fact, I have it in here. Yeah, I have it in this room, I think. Willie Weed, you may not be wrong. No, I don't know that thank you very much, by the way. And if you don't understand why people are doing this the way they're doing it, these videos will get buried. I did a video this morning, right? That was a great video. Didn't work out, right? But a ton of people saw it. For a channel our size, 11,000 is a pretty good run. And whatever you see what it says, it catches up later. We're at about 11,000. That's exciting for us, but we got dinged on that. right? They didn't like all of the talk about melted mozzarella marinara on some dough, right? Thrown up. They didn't like that. They don't tell you why they ding you, but I did talk a lot about that, and that is one of those areas that they get real dicey when you talk about. And you know something? Screw it. Let's get demonetized. Why do they get dicey about it? Huh? Why can't I talk about it? It starts making you wonder if they don't want you to talk about it because they dig it, because they're all in on it, right? Just a thought. Just a thought. Yeah, you know something? As you start to read these things, right? As you start to read all of the different accounts that people are alleging, this is a guy that threatened a lot of people, right? He really did. But if you're going to run, if the government is correct, right? If the government is correct, then you are absolutely going to be, this is Don Corleone. This is the head of the pimple. This is the guy running this entire crime organization, right? So yeah, he's got to be ruthless, right? This is just like the mob. That's what they're alleging. Terry Crews and these rappers laughing at him being assaulted. You know what? I have not looked into that. I can. Do you guys remember Debo? You guys know who I'm talking about, right? There was a movie that came out a long time ago called Fridays. You guys remember this movie? A lot of really famous people are in it, and it's a great film. It's a very popular film, and it was big in popular culture. And the reason I bring it up is when I was incarcerated, Debo was in a camp. He was in a camp here in Arizona. So when I got busted and they were going to take me to the hole, they start belly chaining me, and I go, normally they're just going to cuff your hands behind your backs to take you to the shoe. And I'm like, why am I getting put in belly chains? And he said, we shut down our shoe, right? Our segregated housing unit. We don't have enough people on this yard, so we shut it down. I go, where am I going? We're taking you across the street to the USP. You're getting transect, right? Just 400 yards. I'm getting put in a different building to go to the shoe. But I'm getting driven by Debo. Like I get in the van and I look over and I go, bro, man, you look exactly like Debo. And he goes, I am. And I'm like, what? He goes, yeah, man, no, I'm Debo. And it was really weird because like I was honored as hell. Honestly, I was like, holy crap, that's Debo. I was telling everybody about what happened with Debo. And as it turns out, I met some people. In fact, we got some guys on this channel that did time with him. And apparently he was a lot more fun to be around in the movie Fridays than he was to have on your yard. No disrespect. I'm just telling you what I'm not trying to throw a shade on Debo, but my friends, and again, they're on this channel, said that, man, you didn't want Debo knowing what you were doing in there. He was fond of telling everybody, but this was a really low security. These guys were at a camp. I mean, they were letting him drive a damn van. Right? What custody level are you at when you can get in a van and drive? I mean, there were cops in the van with us, but they would drive guys to the airport. They would drive people to the hospital. I mean, campers are almost free, right? Almost free. I've told the story about 100 times, but I was in the shoe and I get a cellmate and that they freak out. Like they come running in. You would have thought that like we set something on fire, and these cops come running, about 4 of them. And they're like, cuff up now, cuff up. I'm like, whoa, put my hands through the food slot. Because he was from a camp, he was never supposed to be put in my cell. Like the custody levels are not supposed to mingle. God forbid somebody from a higher custody level attacks somebody from a lower custody level. It doesn't look good. Why was this guy in with that guy kind of thing? So they ran and pulled the dude out, and they moved him right across the hall. And the two of us talked for a couple of days. And I said, what are you in here for? He goes, alcohol. Right. And I said, what are you making your alcohol out of? And he goes, what do you mean? I go, the booze. What are you making the booze out of? You got to make it. He goes, oh, no, I got caught with Bud Light. Yeah. The guys at camps are living a way different existence than the rest of the people doing time, I promise you. But I didn't get anywhere near a camp. My yard points were not going to ever allow that to happen. It just wasn't. Hold on 1 second. Here you go. By the way, thank you for the support. I really appreciate that. and really happy to have you on the boat. Oh, not so sure. It's been reported there are over 325 missing kids, right, that are being moved around. They're being, can't use those words, or unalived. It's heartbreaking. It's also heartbreaking that in the land of the free and the home of the brave, I got to talk like I'm, like there's prison talk and then there's big red button talk, right? I try not to curse a lot anyway, right? It's a control thing for me. If I can't control my tongue, I'm probably not doing a good job of controlling my life, right? Just the way I look at it. So I'm good as far as that goes, but I'm not joking you when I tell you that for the first probably 2 years of this channel, they dinged every single video I had because I'm talking about the Bolivian marching powder and I'm talking about the stuff you put in the syringe and I'm talking about all of these substances. And they'll say, would you like a personal review? There are no persons. This is all computer stuff. And the machine can't tell that I'm not Cheech and Chong and I'm not here. It's going, yeah, this stuff's awesome, man. Party on this stuff. Like I'm trying to help people get sober, but the machines can't distinguish between that. And what happens is once you start getting a decent amount of views, you start getting, a larger footprint, then they'll start looking at you. And then all of a sudden I started to actually everything started to be green. Diane, you've never seen this shirt? No, I've had this a long time. In fact, I bet I've had this a couple of decades. Does anyone make better cheesesteak than the people here in Philly? Absolutely not. They don't. And I've had, and I'll tell you something, I'll go a step further. I'm not trying to bum out anybody in any other part of the world. But when you go to other places and you see that they've got cheesesteak, you're going to be bummed out if you're somebody that digs Philly cheesesteak. Because it isn't going to be like, so I usually don't buy it anymore ever any place, but that's just me. Perry Young says the boxes is my guess is that these are bodies. Recycle the plastic, select leaks agreed about ahead of time. That's a possibility. I thought when he was talking about telling the producer, right, that they're getting a release date for this, for this Netflix thing. I think that was a threat. And I think that was I'm going to release stuff if I keep getting ghosted. Metallica played at the prison. Oh my goodness. There have been many bands that have played in prison. I have never been at a prison where a band played. I shouldn't say that. Not while I was there. I was at Lewisburg and the Beach Boys played 4th of July at Lewisburg, but not while I was there. By the time I got there, it was a really different prison. And yes, though, Tommy, I found out that they do crochet in prison. Of course, they never came up with the soap caddy. No, you were the first person that I ever saw do that. And I really, I can't tell you how much time I spent crocheting. It is an excellent, and a lot of convicts crochet, a bunch of convicts crochet. Because number one, it kills time. And there's a Zen thing about it. There really is. When your hands are going and you're just sort of, you know what I mean? It's like an autopilot and you're grooving. There's something very kind of Zen about that. And a lot of people dig it. And then they'll make hats and sell them, right? Or they'll make blankets and sell them or send them home. But I did a lot of it. Right next to me. Never leave home without it. I love you, Mary. Question: how do you feel about the topic Thanks covered on Chris Cornell? Epstein, or did this depression and mixture of medication have him leave us? My son, this again is a kind. I could not have told you one song that Linkin Park sang. Unfortunately, I missed. There was a generation of music that I just have never heard. I'm a guy that's very set in my ways. I think it may be why I got along well with Quibs. Quibs is the same way. It's like I find what I like, and then I kind of stick to it, right? So I listen to oldie stations, man. The odds that I'm going to end up on a top 40 station, I mean, you're going to have to like tie me down. And it happened. There are top 40 songs I know because I was in the shoe and the cop that worked would crank tunes all day long, right? In his little rotunda. And because of how the stuff was set up, you heard it down every single hallway. And they played the same songs 25 times a day, right? I mean, for real, when that album, I can't think of the Rolling in the Deep, I can't think of the woman's name, but when that song was a hit, I swear to God, it was on every 10 seconds. They would play it 3 times in an hour. Trust me, I know the words to all of those, but I didn't want to. It just kind of happened. Yeah, Todd, tell you what, I am always live at 7 o'clock at night. My son is live. These are California times, right? West Coast times. I go live at 7:05 at night. The boat fires up in the morning for very much a more of a sobriety meeting, which is cool because it's our roots and it's what we do. And that is about 9 a.m. And then during the day, I fire up about the time I get the story done because I'm up at 4 o'clock in the morning and I'm trying to find if there's anything. If there's not, I'll skip a day. I'm not going to do true crime if there's not any true crime to do. And I don't want to flog this. I don't want to bring people back because I can get views and not do anything, right? For real. Especially during the day. This time slot, I'll answer questions about anything if I'm doing an Ask Me Anything, but you're going to see thumbnails that say journaling. And if it bums you out, like this channel has always been about living your best life. I will always cover true crime cases. If I see an angle, right? And again, who cares? I do, right? This case is the most disgusting thing I've ever seen. And the tentacles, the fact that we have to sit here, right, in all sincerity and say, do you think the guy from Abercrombie and Fitch might be tied in to Diddy? Do you think Epstein might be tied into Diddy? The fact that these questions are asked not in a joking manner, right, but in a cerebral fashion, right? Honestly, your best educated guess. Do you think, how pervasive is this that's the conversation we're having, right? Well, Harvey Weinstein, he was holding down the film part of this scumbaggery, right? Diddy seemed to be holding down the music part of this scumbaggery with a whole lot of help, right? Which I would also guess would be the producer. I don't know who the producer is, but he had the producer's help. Your guess is as good as mine. Your guess might be better than mine. JD from Philly says, how soon, if at all, will Diddy start to rat? You want my answer on this one? You're going to love my answer on this one. Let me read this one more time in case anybody didn't hear it. How soon, if at all, will Diddy begin to rat? If I had to guess, I would say January or February of 1999 or the year 2000, right? That's my guess. I think that's about the time that Diddy started to rat. Humble opinion, right? No allegedly, humble opinion. This is my opinion. My opinion is this guy was a CI. This guy worked with the feds. Nobody has ever investigated something as poorly as they investigated that nightclub incident, right? For real. There was a woman screaming, I saw who did it, right? I saw who did it, Sean Combs. I was looking down the barrel of it as he was pointing it at me. Right? I was looking right at him. This is a story that she's been solid with, right? A lot of people were saying, we saw him. Gene Deal said in an interview, hey, to be really honest with you, Puff and his legal team put together the witnesses that they were going to talk to, everything, got him a list, had it all, like, boom, and dropped it off for the FBI, for the prosecution. He basically prosecuted the case against him, allegedly, according to Mr. Deal. And I got no reason to doubt it, right? Especially because I think Gene Deal is probably the, with all due respect to every other party involved. I love Cat, I love Jag, I love everybody. If you said to me, Tommy, I need you to bet your life on one of these people's stories, right? You don't have a choice. You got to pick one and bet your existence on it. I'm going to go with Gene Deal. And that's based on me watching these people and listening to these people and researching things that these people say, I find Gene Deal to be absolutely believable and a stand-up dude, right? Do they have housing units in the feds? It sounds like you always had a cell. So housing units in the feds, the term housing unit means that there would be 120 some odd cells, right, in a housing unit. It's an ups in most federal facilities. There's an upstairs, there's a downstairs. There's two sets of stairs, right? One set on either side to go up or to go down. It's or it would be the four corners. There are stairs in all four corners so you can go up or down. And there's a lower tier and there's a top tier. And in the middle of this large day room, because this is done like a shoebox kind of, and in the middle of the day room are about 4 concrete posts, 2.5, 3 feet across. On those posts will be a couple of televisions, right? 2 per post, and there'll be like 3 posts that have 2 TVs on each of them. That's what a housing unit looks like, unless it is a segregated housing unit, right? That's the SHU, the acronym segregated housing unit. That's the hole, the bucket, right? The where you go and cool your heels for a little while. The no fun box, time out, the no fun chair. It sucks. It's not a place you want to be. Thank you, Rip. I appreciate you, my brother. That's Rip Curl Readiness. Been with the boat a really, really long time. Great dude. Youth was playing sports, tag around the yard, riding bikes, throwing rocks down the tracks or bottles. Yeah, you know what I mean? When we were kids, we went outside, right? Until the street lights came on. Had to be home by the time the street lights were coming on, right? By the time those lights were coming on, nothing good was happening after that. You had to be home. And we played outside, but they used to have to come and get us. Get back in here, right? We went out. Kids don't go outside anymore, right? For real. It's frightening how much the world has changed, and it has not changed for the better. I haven't watched news lately. Have there been any co-defendants mentioned in the Diddy case? Let me bring you up to speed real quickly. No names have come out solidly, right? However, there was a lawsuit that we found out about on Sunday night, where this is the first of the public allegations that we've heard tied to a case. This is a civil case where an individual said, I was assaulted by Mr. Combs and another individual, right, who sadly took turns, while a woman watched. But all people in the room were celebrities, were well-known celebrities, and one was Diddy. So we don't know who the other two are, Shelly Kelly, but this is, this is where we're at. No names yet, but I think that there's a really decent chance that we're going to be seeing them. I do. I think that, and we're not going to be seeing them tomorrow. We're going to have to, and you know what? We're not going to see any arrests on the. We're not going to see any arrests on the RICO. I know that we're getting bored. I know that we all want to hear that happen tomorrow, right? But if we're friends and we've been friends a while, do you remember saying they're not going to arrest this guy? They kicked the door in how long ago, right? Especially about late July and August, I was getting all the emails from people going, they're not going to arrest him. You were wrong. Man, the feds don't let anybody leave. The feds don't let anybody get away, right? There's nobody that dodges a federal bullet. It doesn't happen. You dodge state charges sometimes, or they cut a righteous deal or whatever. That just doesn't happen in the feds. Did Jamie Foxx really admit that Diddy poisoned him to have a stroke and be hospitalized? Or was that just clickbait that I read? Viggy Cat, I love that question. I'm afraid that was probably clickbait that you read. Here's the truth that we know. This dude ran around with Diddy and Danny Masterson and Ashton Kutcher and Wilder Valderrama. This was the new Rat Pack, about 2001, 2002, 2003. Right in that time frame, they were going hard. By the way, all of the Jane Doe cases with Danny Masterson took place at the same time. Coincidence? I don't believe in them. But Jamie Foxx, at some point on a show, right, being interviewed, probably a radio show, kind of a show or a podcast, they were talking about Diddy parties, because that's what everybody talks about. Especially back then, before he was determined to be a creep. And he made reference to the kind of parties that only guys were invited to. And he didn't say, these guys were on the down low, or these guys are, having sex or anything like that. He just said that he also had parties that only guys were invited to. And the rumor has been that that's why Diddy got angry, and there was some form of attempt at communication, and he kind of pulled away from him. And I guess Diddy doesn't let anybody pull away from him. Allegedly, this is what people are saying. Did that happen? I don't know. I don't. But we do know the cops went to the hospital, right? And I've said this a bunch, but I've been to the hospital, right? I've had a lot of times where I had to go to the ER. The police don't show up, right? Unless there's a crime involved. Yeah, the Abercrombie and Fitch guy is just another dirtbag, right? It is just another person using their position of authority, ultimate position of authority, if you want to keep it real, ultimate position of authority to pull the trigger, right? I can make you rich. I can make you rich. Take your shirt off. This is really what we're talking about, right? It's sad, but it's true. Moonchild Pink says Jamie Foxx could have been the Netflix video that Diddy was talking about. I think the tone of it, right? Go back and listen. It sounds ugly, and maybe I'm wrong, right? But to me, the tone of the voice is, and where you see it, those clips, right, were one call, and they're broken up into clips. That's one call. And if you take it and play it one right after the other, what you will catch is that this was a situation where he sounds super threatening. And they're talking about how people are ghosting him and all these things. Yeah, well, reach out to that producer. You let him know that there's a date. If you had stuff, right, you're in prison, and you got a videos of people that you could release and trash careers. And you're saying a bunch of people quiet out there, right? Yeah, well, who's going to get the last laugh? If you take everything that he says in total, then I think when you look at the producer, or you look at the Netflix video, I think it's a threat. I think because you can't say, you tell those dirty SOBs that I'm going to release these tapes if they don't start coming up here, putting a little money on my books, helping me out with a legal defense team, and while you're at it, maybe mail me in a little bit of contraband. Right? He's not getting any of that. I think he's offended. He says in the call, oh, they think I'm sweet because I'm locked up, right? Sweet's kind of a term, especially used inside, that usually means gay, and he's kind of saying, oh, they think I'm soft, right? They think I'm sweet because I'm locked up in here now. Now they can do whatever they want. So to me, it sounded like a threat, but who knows? What does good paperwork mean? So there are crimes, and you don't have to agree with this. And I'm not sitting here telling you that any of this is right. You understand? I report. I report on what goes on the other side of the wall. Good paperwork means that you have a crime considered honorable. There are crimes that the fellas find honorable, and there are crimes that the fellas don't find honorable. And if you were victimizing, especially physically, women, kids, or old people, right? Usually that's a problem. Now, varies from race to race, but kids, there's no race out there that puts up with that, right? The way certain women are treated, there are cultures where, don't yell at me and don't send me emails, but there are, within the system, there are guys who can say, yeah, I smacked my old lady, right? Without people going, I'm sorry, you did what? Now, I wouldn't do that at a white boy table. I wouldn't. Now, does that mean that these guys don't have domestic violence charges? I don't know, man. You know what I mean? Honestly. But they are in their current offense, and usually they will check to see if they've got anything from their past. But their current offense is an honorable crime. Bank robbery is a really good one, right? If it's about stealing money, if it's about selling drugs, if it's about those kind of things, right? Most guys understand that, even, believe it or not, unaliving someone. And the reason is, I'll explain this, right? I've done this many times before, but if you were to come home and find your significant other, the love of your life, in bed with someone else, I can understand how somebody would snap and do something extreme. I'd probably punch the dude around and ask the woman to move out. But I could see how somebody that maybe hasn't been in a lot of fist fights or has never been down that road, maybe he carries a concealed weapons permit and he loses it and he caps two people. It's a bad decision. It's made in the heat of the moment. Everybody, I'm not saying you could put yourself in their shoes, but everybody can understand that. If you say, I robbed a bunch of banks, right? Everybody that I tell that in an environment where it's just two of us, you know what they tell me all the time? I've thought about robbing banks. You hear it from the strangest people. I've heard it from cops. I've heard it from, from FBI agents. I've thought about it. Everybody's thought about it at one time or another. But no one's ever thought about doing the stuff that Diddy's talking about, right? There's nobody in there that thinks, oh, I can see that. Oh, so you made a bunch of money and you decided that, you wanted a 9 or a 13-year-old. Yeah. No one's going to be able to put their brain around that, right? Even people, every once in a while, you'll hear a convict say, as far as I'm concerned, they put chomos and rats on the same exact tier. I don't at all. And I never will. And again, because I'm not saying I respect people that rat, right? Because I don't. But you can understand why somebody does. You did the crime, but you'd rather not do the time, right? And maybe the people that you're dealing with, you've known them 6 months, maybe you've known them a year, but you've known your family since you were born. And a lot of people take that route. Not saying it's cool, not saying it doesn't deserve to get punished, whatever you want to say. However, you can understand the mindset, right? Okay, well, there are crimes that no matter how you put your brain to it, you can't make yourself understand the crime. Good paperwork, you can always go, okay, I can see that. I can see that, right? You freaked out. You capped somebody, whatever. Or you were trying to build a criminal operation and in the process, you rubbed a couple of people out. I can see that. Right? I can see that. That's those things. But I had 7,500 pictures of kids who were under the age of 14 on my laptop. There's nobody in the BOP going, well, that can happen to anybody. Like looking at pictures of young kids doing rot. No, nobody can wrap their dome around that. So they don't want to live with it. Nice. Gene also finally wrote 2 books. He's selling them on his channel. Well, I love that. And I hope, honestly, I hope Gene makes a fortune. I really do. Gene's just a guy that I would love, right, to go to lunch with Gene Deal. I think I could have a good time with him. And he was a probation officer, right? But I definitely could kick it with Gene Deal. Right? I mean, this is a very, very legit thing. I've been on narcotics for chronic pain for years. Pills, smoking, patches, vaping, and I never thought it could come from baby oil or from a disguised bottle. You know what? Of course. It doesn't make any sense, right? It really doesn't. And it's not something you'd think of, which is why they're doing it, right? It's why they're doing it. Now, just one thing, right? Public service announcement. Please, if you're doing any opiates, you got to take it out of a pill bottle that has your name on it. If you think you can buy a Percocet on the streets in the United States of America or any other country that came from big pharma, they're not. They're getting done with pill presses, and these are guys making them in their garage. And the stuff in there is not oxycodone, it's fent, or it's phyto or isonitazines. And those little Perc 30s are the number 1 cause of death in our country between the ages of 18 and 50. They're everywhere. So, and I'm not lecturing anybody in particular, but I say this to anybody that says to me, I take pills for chronic pain. They got to come from Pain Specialty Clinic. You get them at the pharmacy. The pill bottle has your name on it. There's no other way to take these things safely anymore. There's no safe drug supply. If it's powdered, if it's pilled, there is no more safe drug supply. Right now, I believe we're being attacked through chemicals. And it's just not safe. Hey, Rich, love our audience from Australia. What is it, ding? What did I say? Ding them? It's an expression for taking taken something away from somebody, or you got dinged, you got done dirty, you got dinged. I don't know. Not even sure I could. I guess I'd have to hear myself say it. I'm sorry, but you know, dinged. Nobody knows dinged. V. McWilliams. Yeah, you know something. A ding is a slap from YouTube. Exactly. They ding your. What they do is this: you get dinged. They turn your. So we make money from commercials on this, right? The way that we get paid, and there'll be super chats and memberships, but the way we get the vast majority of the money that you make on YouTube is from people watching your videos, and then advertisements are run during those videos, right? That's kind of how it works. So the last video I did. Normally when a video is done, about 1,400 of you have seen it, 1,300 of you have seen it, or something like that, and then it's going to go a lot higher. That doesn't necessarily mean that's what you're seeing, because there's a big discrepancy from what originally shows up to what's actually there. It takes a while for the numbers to kind of catch up. But when you guys were seeing that ended with 2,600 views, I was seeing that it ended at almost $5,000. And immediately it turned yellow, and I was like, "Oh man, you dinged me on a video that's absolutely running." But you can also appeal it, and I'm going to appeal the decision. But more often than not, you get dinged on the appeal too. Shut up! Shut up! You don't know. Here's the thing: you don't have to tell anybody here who Lori Vallow is. Right? Everybody knows who Lori Vallow is. She was convicted in Idaho already for atoning for my 3 family members, including my uncle, Charles Vallow. I researched the secret society that they are in it. Please send me an email, right? TommyScoville@gmail.com, and put Lori Vallow in the for the subject matter, please. I can think of 60 things I'd like to ask you right now off the top of my head. Right. And I won't do it because whether you realize this or not, what you're hearing me say right now, I said a long time ago. Right. It's just the nature of how we do this. There's a delay, and you don't notice it much unless we start trying to communicate in real time in the chat. I can read things that people say and do things like that, but it's very difficult to keep up. Yeah, you know what? I like that. Please hit that subscribe button. We'd really like to hit 25K. And you know what's funny is there's a great number of you, believe it or not, about 40% of you don't hit subscribe. I think it's maybe the convict thing, right? Or the really big nose. Like, have you noticed that? I mean, I got a honker. It could be a nose thing, or you don't like bald people. Your nephew JJ was sacrificed 1 week after his 16-year-old sister Tylee. I'm so sorry. I really am. And you know something? This is one of those situations that it's really easy to talk about. I did this case. I talked about your sister. Did you say aunt or sister? I can't remember. Sorry. Sister. Aunt. See, this is a cognitive decline. But all of these people have families, right? The Slender Man, people call it the Slender Man killing. There was no killing, right? They attempted the Slender Man case. There were 2 girls who lured a friend of theirs into the woods and attacked her, stabbed her like 37 times. The girl miraculously lived. But the 2 kids were sentenced to very, very long sentences. And one of the kids was 12. And I understand wanting to punish people, but a 12-year-old who believes in Slender Man probably shouldn't get a life sentence. I don't think that the brain is developed enough at 12, especially if you believe in Slender Man, that you can be held to the standard. Did she know right from wrong? Probably, right? But not to the degree that somebody who would be above the age of 18. I just think and you know what? She's got family. That love her. And it's really easy. Like the Diddy. I said this the other day, and I can't stand this dude. I can't. I was never a fan of him even back in the day. Am I taking joy in this? Yeah, I am. I shouldn't be, but I am. And maybe it's why people are watching. Maybe they can genuinely see that I'm not rooting for this guy, right? And I don't think anyone is. This has been going on for so long, right? Right out in front of everybody. Chris Cornell talked about his death in his songs, very spiritual and handsome. My son talked to me about this for so long. And he's, yeah, I think that there's a lot there. Here's what I was really disturbed about the most, right? I don't want them to hand the reins over to somebody who's a Scientologist. And if you bum out on me for that and say, you know, all religions have a right to spend a little time researching Scientology, right? They're a bunch of dirtbags. They actually sent people. Yeah, I shouldn't say it because they haven't messed with me in a long time. So maybe I should just. They're an organization that has a policy called fair game, and they will go after people and trash them. They told the whole world that that I was a freak, that I was somebody like Diddy. Like they'll make videos about you, they'll trash you, but they're a bad organization of scumbags, right? They really are. And the way that they control the people in their organization through the auditing process and through what all of that entails, it's just sad to think that a man's legacy who believed so strongly in mental health and what that means, that to not be in a good place, and how you work at that and you go talk to counselors and therapists, they don't believe in any of that, right? Any of that. They think that psychiatry in any way, shape, or form is rotten and evil and out to destroy the world. That and what they call SPs, suppressive people. I am a suppressive person, right? I'm an SP, so it's all good. Wow, that may be the nicest thing anyone's ever said. I really appreciate that. Sharon, wow, that's a beautiful thing to say. Thank you so much. And I know there are people here that don't believe. Here, we don't crap on people for believing or not believing. If somebody says, hey, I'm saying a prayer for you and you don't believe in God, you know what? Scroll by it. Default to the kind section of anything here. And you'll stay around, because we have a rule. Right? We try not to talk about politics unless you have to, right? Sometimes it intersects politics and drugs, or politics in pop culture, and you kind of have to talk. In religion, we just don't ever say my God's better than yours, or you're an idiot for not believing, or you're an idiot for believing. We just try to default to the kindness. But the last rule is mean people suck. And if a wrench here thinks you're mean, you'll never be seen again. I promise you. You know what? I'd like to get to 100,000. I would kick 80,000 out before I let people crap on anybody in this forum. There will never be mean people here. Oh, no. I have about 800 vinyl singles and about 200 albums. Had more. 18 of my Kiss albums were stolen. I am so sorry. I really am. You're right. It was Adele that sang Rolling in the Deep. Thank you. Sorry. You know something? It's hard to not say this looks a lot like, don't look here, nothing up my sleeve. This does look like a massive case of trying to keep us from looking at this and this alone. I've never seen this kind of feeding frenzy on anything, right? But by way of full disclosure, right? By way of full disclosure, this has sex, right? It's got allegedly stiff bodies, right? Dead bodies. It's got drugs. It's got weapons. This is like those things you watch on TV, right? About these crime families and all that. This is it. And it's unfolding in real time. And we've been watching these people on page 6, right? Or any of the tabloid sheets since we were young. This dude's been doing it 30 years. So I think that's the reason that, but it could be, there's no way to tell. It crosses my mind constantly. But boy, it would take a lot of moving parts, right? You got to get this guy from Houston involved. I think that there's just, I don't know, maybe. If so, it's masterfully done. And it is difficult research's aunt. I apologize. Thank you. Yeah, the Doomsday Cult. Both bodies were found at Chad Daybell's, my memory serves me correct. They went out and put tents up. And I was watching, sadly, hey, Smidge, I was watching that, sadly, while they were doing it. And I was, we all so badly wanted to see those kids alive. But you know what? When you see people like your aunt and I guess temporary uncle in Hawaii, and the kids are at home, and that was just very disturbing. Send me an email. I'd love to talk to you about that. Nicole, absolutely. Yes, they need to comply with the ADA. I really wish that they did more. Honestly, thank you. You look great in green. I really appreciate you. I wish that there was better with the ADA. I was in a wheelchair for a period of time after having a stroke. And when I got to the next facility, I'm not joking, and they said, oh, yeah, we don't allow wheelchairs at this facility. Oh, what the hell does that mean? What do you mean you don't allow wheelchairs? Like, I had one side of my body that wasn't working. They're like, we can get you a walker. And I'm not kidding, man. Like, it was really tough in the beginning working that. But God bless them. I walk around great. And I don't know that I would have if they didn't make it such an unbelievable, they forced me to. And then when I went to the next yard, I got a cane and I got thrown in the shoe. They took the cane away, but the walls were close enough that I could put my hands on each wall. And man, I taught myself to walk. I had like 5 months or whatever. I just taught myself to walk. You could get in there and hold on to the walls. And by the time I was leaving that yard, I wasn't dragging my toe anymore. Hey, Tommy, you were on fire. Yeah, great breakdown of the call. What does pizza boxes mean specifically? I didn't quite catch it from the Sean interview. Okay, so there was this isn't even a conspiracy theory anymore. It's not. It's this is code that freaks. And when I say freaks, I'm usually referring to people who like the attention of underaged individuals, right? It's code for those people and how they could basically make orders of kids, as disturbing as it is. And the different toppings on pizza meant different stuff. And if you start going down that rabbit hole, it'll blow your freaking mind. All the different places where people talk about how well so-and-so makes pizza, and it'll be like 6 or 7 minutes of them talking about it. And it's so over the top, that it's such like overblown. You're like, what the hell are they talking about? It doesn't even make sense. I went down that rabbit hole once. There's a lot of people that talk about it. I remember Soundgarden. I remember Black Hole Sun. That was another song they played every 5 seconds. Black Hole Sun. I happen to prefer the Grammy Award-winning version of that done by Peter Frampton. I don't know if you ever heard it, but Frampton actually covered that and won a Grammy for it, and it is awesome. It really is. It is awesome. And thank you so much. Contribution to the Lifeboat Mission Connection. Kat, thank you so much. And you know something? This channel has done some really, really cool things since it started. And we've been able to step in and do some really amazing things when there were people that really needed us to step in and do amazing things. And I've never done it. Well, I shouldn't say that. Other than the first season, I've been using your money to do this. And I can't thank you enough, right? I really can't. It's humbling in a big way. Hey, Miss Dragon, awakened by the looking glass. Good to see you. Sweet Liberty, what's happening? Mary Gonzalez, it is very, very humbling when people trust you enough to send you cash, for real. And just assume that, you're a decent person. Muffin Cooper, thank you so much. It is humbling. And it's funny, the narrative, it's amazing to me. I'm shocked. I always am. Charlie keeps me in line. Charlie Mullins will leave a comment today that says, hey, you're lucky. Don't forget you're lucky. I did a show on it once. I don't want to be those people that take people for granted. I know I'm lucky that you're here watching. I really am. Even if I was a college graduate, I'd be lucky to have you here. A professor or a doctor or a lawyer or whatever. Technically, I'm a college graduate, but I did it in a prison. But to be listening to an ex-con and being as kind as you are, yeah, man, it's humbling as hell. And thank you, Muffin. I appreciate you. How does a murder one go down to manslaughter if the defendant proves self-defense with a firearm? How does a murder one go down to manslaughter if the defendant proves self-defense with a firearm? Well, self-defense wouldn't be murder one, right? I mean, it couldn't be. So if there's an element of self, I guess it could be. I'm not a lawyer, right? But murder one just means that there's premeditation, right? It sounds to me like it probably should have been murder two. Depends on how this started, I guess, hamster heifer. That's probably a little less than I would probably need a little bit more of that story, I think, to answer that with any kind of certainty. Shout out to our wonderful mods. Well, I'll tell you what, that is the understatement of the century. People, our mods work harder than anybody in the business, right? Everything we do is live, and I talk enough about sobriety that I'll just be honest with you, man. When you're doing good stuff, the scumbags come out of the woodwork. And we got a great mod crew here that keeps us safe so that we can talk about things. There are people here that share stuff from their past, and we have a great set of mods. We really do. Now, I'm going to head back to port with this boat. I'm going to go and call it a night. It has been a hell of a day. I'm telling you. Have I seen the Cat Williams interview where he predicted and discussed Diddy and others? If so, thoughts? It was months before all broke loose. It's eye-opening. You want to hear my opinion? Hold on. Yeah, Frampton was definitely good. The Cat Williams interview was on Club Shay Shay. If you ever want to see it, right? Shannon Sharp's channel. Now, there's two ways to look at this. He's been around this so long, and he really heard some mutterings about things that were going on, and he thought, man, maybe this will be the year. Or perhaps he was on the witness list. Maybe he got called in, one of the first names for the grand jury, and they were asking him questions. Perhaps he knew because he knew there were grand jury indictments being handed down. By the way, if he did, I think he's a friggin' hero. I'm not a guy, one of these guys that goes, oh, rabbi. If you're telling on someone that's hurting kids, that ain't snitching, right? That's this one here. Good for you, bro. Seriously, what can I get you? You want a burger, a beer? What can we do for you? Sorry, if you're telling on people who hurt kids, that's not snitching. That's doing the right thing. Right? It's what cops are there for. It's what 911 is there for. There are things that you got to call the cops for, man. There are, right? And if you're an upstanding citizen, you should be able to call them for anything. And don't get me started. I've been beat by them, right? The people are going to go, hey, cops there are good ones, there are bad ones. I've dealt with both. It's going to be really interesting. It's going to be really interesting to see if they take down the mom, because obviously the mom knows. I don't know if she knows where all of the bodies are buried, right? But she knows where all the treasure's buried, right? I promise you, she knows where all the treasure's buried. And this guy's already claiming that he's broke. That isn't going to fly, not in my opinion. I think they got to chase down that money. I think they'd have to have forensic people go after it. Scapegoat, thank you so much. This is a great show, Tommy. My new favorite channel. Looking forward to the next one. Cheers to you too, my brother. Thank you. It has been a year of enlightenment within the entertainment industry. Thank goodness, right? We'll leave it on that one. I am the Admiral. We'll see you on the next one. Between now and then, reach out and try to save somebody. Have a good night.